A young black teenager was arrested on the street just because of his skin color. What the officers didn't realize was that his father was the sheriff, and soon they would have to answer for their actions. What happened next will surprise even the most jaded. But let's start from the beginning. Late evening. Jamal Thompson, a 17-year-old African-American, is walking slowly down an empty street, holding a basketball in his hands. His mind is fully occupied with thoughts about the recent practice. The walk home from school is only a few blocks, but Jamal feels tense. At this time, the streets are deserted. The streetlights cast long shadows, and the few cars that pass by pay him no mind. But this calm is only an illusion. In recent years, he has heard far too many stories of kids just like him being unfairly accused or treated unjustly. Jamal knows that one wrong move could send the situation spiraling out of control. Lost in thought, Jamal suddenly notices a police car approaching. The bright headlights cut through the night, shattering the quiet. The car slowly pulls up to the curb. The siren blares, and Jamal instinctively freezes. He feels his heartbeat quicken. He knows they won't ask why he's walking home late at night. More likely, they'll suspect him of something. Two officers get out of the car. One is tall and muscular, with a serious expression, and the other, shorter, with a smug smirk. Both eye Jamal with clear suspicion. "Stay where you are," the tall officer commands, his tone leaving no room for argument. Jamal, gripping the basketball in his hand, instinctively obeys. He's heard from his parents and friends that arguing with the police in situations like this is dangerous, especially if you're black. "What are you doing out here this late?" the second officer asks sternly, eyeing Jamal with distrust. "I just came from practice," Jamal replies, trying to keep his voice calm, though inside, anxiety is tightening his chest. "I'm on my way home." The officers exchange a glance. One of them seems to doubt Jamal's story for a second, but distrust wins out. "Hand over your ID," the tall officer orders. Jamal slowly sets the basketball on the ground and carefully pulls his wallet from his pocket, trying not to provoke any unnecessary aggression. He hands over his ID, but the officers' expressions don't change. To them, he's still a suspect. "Basketball practice, huh?" Officer Miller sneers as he glances at Jamal. "Didn't know breaking into cars was part of practice now." The words cut Jamal deeply, but he knows he can't give in to his emotions. All he wants is to get home without any trouble. But the tension is rising. "Officers!" Jamal begins again, trying to remain composed. "This is a misunderstanding. I'm just walking home from practice. You can call my coach. He'll confirm." But his words seem to hit a wall. The officers either don't hear him or don't want to. Miller steps closer, raising his eyebrows. "You sure do talk a lot for someone who's got something to hide," Miller snaps. Meanwhile, the other officer, Reed, circles Jamal, eyeing him from head to toe as if searching for any reason to arrest him. "We got a call in this area about suspicious attempts to break into cars," Reed says as he moves behind Jamal. Jamal feels his tension growing into fear. His mind races. What should he do? How can he avoid getting arrested? He knows he's done nothing wrong, but that doesn't guarantee his safety in this situation. "Hands on the car!" Miller barks, and Jamal realizes that the officer's suspicions are now turning into action. Jamal stands there, feeling the cold metal of the patrol car under his hands. Panic flashes through his mind. What should he do next? Everything is happening so fast he can't process it all. The officers don't explain their actions, just following their usual routine. Reed starts to frisk Jamal, roughly running his hands over Jamal's clothes, as if Jamal poses a real threat. Jamal feels anger and indignation welling up in his chest, but he forces them down, knowing that even the smallest resistance could end in disaster. "You know we catch guys like you all the time?" Reed sneers, pulling Jamal closer to the car. "You're to blame for being here." The words hit like a judgment, as if Jamal's entire life comes down to this unjust, humiliating scene. But inside, Jamal is boiling. He's not a criminal, and he shouldn't be in handcuffs just because he fits some description. "I want to call my father," Jamal says, his voice growing more determined. He needs to know what's going on. Miller glances at Reed, then, to Jamal's surprise, nods. "One call. Make it quick," Miller says, pulling Jamal's phone from his pocket and handing it to him. With trembling hands, Jamal quickly dials his father's number. Jamal texts his father, "Dad, the police stopped me. Come to Maple Street ASAP." He tries to do it discreetly, hoping the officers don't notice. Once the message is sent, he hands the phone back to Miller. Jonathan Thompson's phone vibrates on the edge of his desk, interrupting his thoughts. He looks at the screen. A message from Jamal. Just 3 words, but they send a chill through him. "Dad, police, Maple Street, ASAP." Every muscle in his body tenses. He knows exactly what that message means, and he knows there's no time to waste. Grabbing his car keys, he races to Maple Street, praying he gets there in time. When he arrives, he's met with a scene he hoped he'd never have to see. His son is sitting in the back of the patrol car, hands cuffed behind his back. Officers Miller and Reed, who arrested him, are standing nearby, casually talking like it's just another routine job. Jonathan freezes, his eyes locked on his son. His face remains unreadable, but inside anger is simmering. He knows he can't afford to show emotion right now. He's about to have a measured but powerful confrontation with a system he works within. He takes a deep breath and strides toward the officers with purpose. "Take the cuffs off him." Jonathan's voice is steady and firm, leaving no room for discussion. Miller and Reed turn to him, not recognizing him at first. But when it clicks who he is, confusion flashes across their faces. Miller tries to regain control of the situation. "Sheriff Thompson, we were just holding him for questioning. He fit the description of a suspect." "Take the cuffs off," Jonathan repeats, his tone now sharper, his gaze icy. Reed quickly fumbles for the keys, hesitating for a moment before releasing Jamal. Jamal steps out of the car, his eyes filled with fear and humiliation, but he stays silent, knowing his father will handle it. "Now explain to me what happened here." Jonathan directs his gaze at Miller. Miller starts stammering, trying to justify their actions. "We got a call about someone trying to break into cars in this area. The young man fit the description, so we decided to hold him for questioning." "And this questioning involves handcuffs?" Jonathan steps closer, his voice growing colder. "Well," Miller pauses, realizing he's cornered. "We were just following standard procedure." "Standard procedure?" Jonathan cuts him off, his voice still calm but now carrying a threatening edge. "Detaining someone without evidence? Frisking them, cuffing them? Is that your standard procedure for anyone who fits the description?" The officers exchange uneasy glances, unsure of how to respond. They realize they're in trouble. This isn't just another arrest. They're facing someone they can't ignore. Jonathan turns away from the officers and looks at Jamal, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Are you okay, son?" he asks gently. Jamal nods, struggling to hold back tears. He feels relief that his father is there, but the bitterness of injustice still weighs heavily on his heart. "I'm going to report both of you for suspension," Jonathan says to Miller, "and I suggest you start preparing to review your actions thoroughly." With that, he puts his arm around Jamal's shoulders and slowly walks him away from the car. The crowd begins to disperse, and the cameras shut off. But Jonathan knows this incident isn't over. There's much more to be done to ensure that his son, and other kids in this town, don't face situations like this again. Tonight only highlighted the work still to be done to make the system he works in truly just.